right, Dax, so I just want to recap a little bit because you guys have had a crazy season to get to this point in the playoffs. Mid-season, you guys were near the Eastern Conference. You got a new head coach. You lost your 2 DPs. Had a 10% chance of making the playoffs on the final day of the season. Go to the wild card round, get through in penalties, and then take down the greatest team in MLS regular season history in the playoffs. Did I miss anything?
I'm sure you missed something because it felt like this season was definitely that type of a roller coaster. But no, I think you pretty much hit all the finer points. I think our percentage chance to make the playoffs was actually less than 10. That's what it felt like. So, yeah, you just describing everything that happened right there. It's a trip down memory lane and not a good memory. You know what I mean? But I think because it wasn't a great season and it was so up and down and inconsistent and so much happened, I think that makes what we're doing right now, this run that we're going on, that much sweeter.
I mean, what has this run felt like? What has it been like to be on this journey through this crazy roller coaster ride?
Yeah, it feels, especially for me, nearing the end of my career, feels a little bit like a fairy tale, for sure. It's a little bit of a corny word to throw out there, but I think when you have a season like we've had and there's so much frustration and a little bit of you never want to lose hope, but you're also a realist. I'm a realist, and so I understood that the chances of me being done and being on vacation a month ago were much higher than what we're doing right now. And so it was a little bit weird. It was a weird feeling, especially knowing it's my last year. So definitely a fairy tale right now. So much positive momentum, so many good vibes floating around our training facility, floating around the city. It feels like we've really reignited and galvanized that passionate Atlanta fan base that we're famous for. And that's been really, really nice to see.
For you, you've been in the MLS for 19 years. You are 6 different clubs. How is this team different from teams you've been on before?
Yeah, I would say that this team, it has a special kind of resilience. And I've been on teams in the past that have been resilient for sure, but not quite like this. And it's mainly just because of how the season has gone. It's almost that forced resiliency that you've got to try to build over time. And I've got to be honest, I think we've shown a lot of character that maybe I didn't know that we had, especially in the middle of the season. And that's been great to see. There's definitely been a slow development of that. But when our backs were against the wall, when the games were the toughest, when we had to have really important wins and results, we got them. And that shows a team that's resilient and a team that has character.
And talking about the character, when you guys are at that point in the middle of the season, the losses are compounding, you get a new head coach, Gigi leaves, Almada leaves. What is that like to be at that lowest point? What was, I would say, is that point?
It was a high level of frustration, I think, from everyone involved. And it's easy to get negative, and I'd be lying to you if at certain points I said that it wasn't a negative vibe inside the facility, inside the locker room. But that's when you need to have strength. You need to have your biggest characters, the guys who have been here the longest, people like Brad Guzan, people like Rob Valentino step up and be those calming voices and show their presence to make sure that we're keeping the ship going in the right direction. It's been a lot of up and down, but for the most part, the one thing I'm proud of is that there was never any finger pointing. There was always some level of accountability that had to happen in training and in video sessions, but there was never any, hey, this is your fault, it's not my fault. And I think that's the sign of a team that wants to get out of that rut.
And what happened? How did you guys get out of that rut? Was it just guys stepping up, or was there a spark?
I genuinely think it was just having a little bit of belief. When things aren't going your way, it's easy to lose confidence. So a little bit of belief, a little bit of a call going your way, a result going your way, that's what we needed. And it didn't come until very late in the season. I think, quite honestly, it was such a roller coaster, up and down, up and down. There was a moment against Charlotte when we played in Charlotte where Johnny Fortune scored a goal and we got a huge win on the road against a very good team. That was just the little bit of belief that we needed to just keep going and to know that our season wasn't over. And full credit to the coaching staff, full credit to Rob Valentino, because, he kept preaching that we were a good team. And yet it doesn't always feel like that when the results aren't going your way. But he never wavered, he never lost faith. And as a player, you can't help but latch onto that and continue to believe.
And speaking of Rob, I want to ask about 3 words that has become the motto of this team. Maybe it's not safe for TV, but FEA.
Yeah.
What is it about those 3 words that just resonates so much with this team?
Well, it's funny. I mean, I don't necessarily blame our fans, media members, for writing us off, considering how poor we had been at times during the season. But, you know, when you hop off the bandwagon and now all of a sudden we're doing well and, you know, we're playing in big games, you know, it's tough to hop back on, you know, and, you know, we're happy that our fans are supporting us and they're back and they're re-energized. I think it was mainly for the people that had, you know, mocked us, doubted us, you know, laughed at our expense all year. No problem. You know, we're on a good run right now. FEA, let's keep everything internal. Let's not worry about all the external noise. And the thing I like about Rob, one of the things that he said was like, you know, they were kicking us while we were down. They were criticizing us. You should have blocked that out. Now they're praising us for doing well. Block that out too. It's okay, but at the end of the day, let's just focus and rely on the guys that we have in our locker room, and that's what's going to get the job done.
And it's obviously been working because your guys' backs have been against the wall for so long. Now taking on Orlando in the playoffs, and Orlando and Atlanta United have a very, you know, a rivaled history since the franchise Atlanta United first started. I think they've played 21 times, but they've never met in the playoffs. What are you expecting out of this one in Orlando after taking down Miami, who were the greatest team in MLS regular season history?
I'm expecting fire. I'm expecting intensity. I'm expecting a dogfight, honestly. I think that Orlando, with the way that they play, the way that they are, you know it's going to be an intense game. You know it's going to be testy. And so I think we're going to have to keep our focus, keep our composure, make sure that, you know, we don't get lost in the intensity of the rivalry, because you have to respect it. It's there. And it's a hostile environment. Going down to Orlando is tough. They've got a wonderful fan base who makes it really difficult on the opponent. So we need to respect them, but not fear them. We've gotten good results against them this year, so we need to hone in on what made us successful, block out the noise, and go down there and get a win.
And I think the obvious question is, how do you do that? How do you keep the run alive?
Well, you draw on the things that you did well to get you to this point. And quite honestly, some of it's been a little bit of humility. I think that the way that we've played is maybe not this upbeat, attacking, possession-style soccer that maybe Atlanta fans are used to seeing out of us, and that maybe we expected to play earlier in this year. But I go back to the Atlanta United team of 2018 when they won MLS Cup. How they played in the regular season was not the way they played in the playoffs. They became more pragmatic, which is what we've done. They became more defensive-minded, which is what we've done. They've stayed compact, and they've let their attacking players go and win the game for them, which is exactly what we've done. So I think we can draw on that experience. I think that that's been our recipe for success, and we shouldn't go away from that.
And I have to ask you, because you touched on it a little bit, but you announced that this is your final year. What has it been like having this be your swan song of a year?
It's been pretty incredible. It's been an incredible run. I've got to be honest, a little unexpected, but certainly one that I'm cherishing. You know, when you get to the latter stages of your career, I think you appreciate more the big games and the big moments. When you're young, you think that your career is going to last forever. You think that you're going to play in every single final. You think that you're always going to be fighting for trophies. And the reality is that's not the case. That's the case for maybe less than 1% of professional athletes. And so, you know, for guys like me, I cherish every moment I get to step out on the field. I've done that all season. Now that the games are bigger and more important, it's even more special for me to come out here and be able to have a laugh with the guys, enjoy training, because I think when you've got an expiration date, kind of like I do, you just want to live in the moment, and that's what I've done.
And you've only made one MLS Cup final, right?
2010.
So what would that mean to you in the final year? Obviously, you guys still got a couple more games to go, but what would it mean to you and the team to make
Listen, I haven't thought that far ahead. I've played in an Open Cup final, I've played in an MLS Cup final, I've played in a Gold Cup final. So whenever you get a chance to play for a trophy, you know it's a big deal and you know it's important. And you know that you're representing not just yourself and your family, but you're representing an entire city. And in our case, an entire state, you know, and we expect to have a ton of support. And so, look, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We know that there's 4 teams left in the Eastern Conference. None of them were the higher seeds except for Orlando. So I think it's wide open. I don't think anyone is really a favorite over any other team. And so, look, we want to get through Orlando first. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I've certainly had dreams of making it back to an MLS Cup and lifting that trophy. I mean, what a way to go out that would be.